Hi, I'm Evan Hughes. I am a writer, poet, and artist, and this is going to be my little video explaining why you want to contribute to my success as a patron. So, I really suck at these things. So, my friend Aya over there she is. She is going to help me out with this by asking me some questions, conduct this like a little interview, and hopefully you'll come out of this understanding or at least wanting to help support me. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Okay, so Evan, so what exactly do you do?
What I do, like I said, I write dark fairy tales, science fiction, fantasy, informative and political editorials, romantic poetry. Did I say that already? If I hope so. And this is getting edited. And I also do digital artwork that is mostly astronomical images combined with earthly images to create something that's a little bit more out of this world, whimsical, fun, and pretty.
Yeah, okay. What do you think makes your work stand out?
I'll start with the art because that's the easiest since it's visual, so you can see the difference there. One of the things I notice when I go to arts and crafts stores, arts fairs, and whatnot is the majority of the stuff out there looks the same. You go into an arts and crafts store and supposedly they've got dozens of artists there that they're representing, but you really can't tell. Everything looks like it was done by the same artist. It's all done in the same colorings, of late mostly pastels, pastels, silvers, tans, and whatnot. And it's all got that American kitsch vibe to it, so that it really, to me, makes it feel less like it's independent, handcrafted, and done by various artists, and more like it's just all the same guy, or all the different people trying to be the same guy. I don't do that. My art, while I do take existing photographs, public domain photographs, I combine them for something that is more fantastical. It's got color schemes you're not going to see in most other people's work. I'm heavy in blues, purples, magentas, and it's just really not what's out there. I haven't seen much in the way of the kind of science fiction fantasy art that I'm doing. When you see space art, most people they either take astronomical images and combine them and make something that's just another space piece, or they try to recreate a space piece with their own drawing, painting, whatever. They don't make something that's really neither a space piece nor a terrestrial piece. I do both. I do something that combines both. My writing, I hail back to a lot of the romantic and transcendental poets and writers, but it's a bit more modern than that, except I don't fall into the trap that so many modern authors fall into, where they feel that they have to cater to an audience that demands hypersexuality in their pieces, or that demands hipness in it. There may be some on accident, but it's not what I strive for. My pieces write themselves a lot, and I want them to be more organic to themselves, to whatever they are, and each piece should be able to identify itself separately. I also don't do a whole lot of revision, which is something when you go through art school or creative writing classes, you get pounded into your head that you should revise the crap out of everything, and in my opinion, it revises the piece to death. As each piece is its own separate living, breathing entity, if you revise it too much, it's no longer the same piece. You have something different. So why'd you go through that in the first place?
Right. Okay. Um, and what would you say inspires you?
As far as inspiration goes, obviously I've been talking about space a lot. That is a big influence for me, space, astronomy, and whatnot. I got my first telescope in junior high school, I believe. Actually, no. I had one in elementary school, but it wasn't all that powerful. My first real telescope was in junior high school. That's what I'm thinking about. That was my 400 power. The one I had in elementary school was like a 40 power little tiny guy. You can see the moon, and if you're really good, you might get to see one of the planets with it. And I studied amateur astronomy my whole life up until when I got my degree in physics at Pitzer College, where I actually took a real observational astronomy class. I observed an extrasolar planet on my own. I got to use the Very Large Array in New Mexico, which was like amazing. Yeah. I mean, when you're lying under the stars, watching the stars turn over your head, and then you're surrounded by this array of 20-meter tall radio dishes that are moving in synchronicity to your commands. That was just wow. But you know, mankind has always been fascinated by space, all the way back to the Stone Ages. You can go into caves, you see cave art of stars. A man is always looking for the sky, and my work really reflects that. My art does, a lot of my writing does. Another thing that's really big inspiration in my writing is love, and then coupled with that, you can never get away from pain. And that's just going back to my romantic heritage, where the romantic authors, that was their big thing. Not just love, but more so pain, because you can't have love without pain. And they're dark, they're passionate. They were referred to by critics of the time as Gothic because of how dark their pieces were. There's a more modern idea of romantic being fluffy clouds, rainbows, and happiness, and that's not what the Romantic poets were about. They were more about the passion, more about the intensity of love, and it was very dark. Mm-hmm. And that shows through in my poetry. I get musicality in my poetry and my writing from the likes of Tolkien, from the more musical of the Romantic poets. That really shows through in a lot of my work. And then, you know, I already said Asimov was a big influence of mine, I believe. If I didn't, he is. Coleridge, Taylor, Keats. One of my more popular articles is about Keats and the role of imagination in his work and how he viewed the role of imagination. Whitman, Thoreau, they're all really big influences for me.
And as a patron, why should I support you?
Well, first, most obviously, hopefully you like what I do. So check out my writing, and my art. And if you like what you see, then do please support me. That'll help me make more of it. My poetry specifically can be found right there, and my fairy tales right there, and actually all of my fiction, a lot of my fiction there. I post some of my fantasy and science fiction short stories there as well. Go check it out. If you like it, support me. When you're doing that, keep in mind that when the artist-writer has to rely on the more mundane corporate world jobs, those jobs are soul-killing, they're draining, they're exhausting. At the end of the day, when the artist comes home, they're not able to create that art, create that beauty, create those inspirational pieces because their inspiration is gone. It's been killed. It's been squashed. By helping out the artist, the writer, by supporting them, you can keep them away from that and help keep us focused on creating beauty, creating inspirational works and whatnot. And that's why you should support me. Is you want to help me do that. And I want you to help me do that. I want to do more of that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. It's getting dark.